I've been thinking, and I think there's something I should tell you. Nothing big or terrible, just a small little detail about me that hasn't come up naturally. It's just that I happen to be what's the best way to put this? A vampire.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 64 of the video game podcast PlayStation Pals. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by the Gale to my Asterion, John. John, did you know it is Last of Us Day?
No, I didn't. The 25th of September? Is this the day that I should really know this word, cordyceps. I should really know that word off the top of my head. That they destroyed humanity?
Well, it's the 26th, the day that this show goes live, not the day that we record, but...
God, what a rookie. I'm so new at this.
Yeah, it's episode 1. It's okay. Yeah, it's the Last of Us Day, the day of the outbreak. It was a great day for Joel. He loved it. A lot of good things happened.
You're not a dad, Nick. But I think you probably do understand the gravity of that situation.
Yeah, whether you've played the video games or watched the television show, you know what happened on this very day in the series. I'm hoping there's an announcement, but Naughty Dog has already gotten ahead of it. There will be no video game news on Last of Us Day, or show news.
Sure, but on the bright side, we did get confirmation that the Writers Guild did reach at least a tentative agreement today, right? So hopefully season 2 of the show, is going to get kicked off here shortly, and we can start seeing some, teases and things
casting
like that.
announcements, certain
and
characters. Yeah,
just kind of get that that spun up again, so we can get excited about that.
Yeah. So that's exciting.
Also, before we continue, who am I? Gale to who?
Asterion.
Is that a Baldur's Gate thing?
Yeah, they're Baldur's Gate characters.
All right.
We'll get into that a little later.
Okay.
But yes, they are both Baldur's Gate characters. All right. So before we kick things off into the things that we're bringing, there was some news items, some updates to some stories we talked about last week, and I just wanted to quickly go through those. The very first one is John and I theorized how much Helldivers 2 would cost. And I said, brace for 70. John was a little more conservative on the $50 price tag, but pre-orders went live on September 22nd, and it is going to be a $40 game.
Whoa.
So, John, what are your thoughts on that interesting price tag for Helldivers 2?
I would like to say I'm shocked, but I guess, as I said, $50 was kind of what I was thinking. But, initially I think there's going to be a lot of people that kind of hear that price point and go, oh, it's going to be budget. Oh, it's going to not be, a full fleshed out game. But I wouldn't have those reservations at all. I think it's going to be exactly what the players of the game are going to want it to be. I think you just need to understand that it's kind of a smaller, more focused project than your, huge AAA games. It's not going to, have this crazy world to explore, but you're going to be able to go in with some friends, shoot some crazy bugs, probably have a lot of cool perks, a lot of cool, season pass type things and have a lot of fun. So, I think $40 is a good price point to kind of just get people in the door. I would have honestly thought maybe more than, 40 is a good price, but I thought they could have potentially went free to play here too. So there might be different ways that they can make money with it. But I think 40 is a perfect spot. I think that it is consistent with how the first game was, which I believe was 30 or 35, might have even been 40 as well. Keeps those players, just ready to jump in when it comes, and hopefully people who have reservations about it won't have those reservations anymore. Kind of like me. I'm honestly way more ready to jump in at $40 if it reviews well than if it was 70. I probably would have skipped it regardless.
For a game like this, you definitely want a healthy install base right off the bat. But so you think that this game will have some kind of battle pass and added microtransactions to?
Yeah, but I think it's going to be tasteful. I think being that Sony is kind of, not kind of, this is a second-party game, right? They're publishing it. So I think, they're not going to let a lot of gross things worm their way in. I think that they'll, it'll be cosmetics and,
Sure.
will it get zany like Fortnite? No, but let's not forget that this does have a very Starship Troopers vibe to it. So I wouldn't be shocked to see zany things and fun little things with battle passes. But I also think like if you don't want to engage with that similarly to a game like Rocket League, you're probably going to be fine too.
Right. And I'm sure Sony has data on which battle passes sell well and which do not. Not that I don't know if they would share that with them or not.
Well, if Sony doesn't, Bungie does.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So,
because that's something that's a little interesting about these kind of games now as they come out through Sony is, as we saw with Factions a while back, Bungie seems to be giving the thumbs up or thumbs down on a lot of these projects, so that if they do want to go the live service route, which I'm pretty sure that this is one of Sony's, they consider one of their live service games, they have to basically give them the thumbs up before it's good to go. So I would expect that, it's all fleshed out and going to be pretty awesome.
Okay. All right. And did you watch the trailer that accompanied this announcement?
No, we'll probably get into it later, but no, I spent the weekend in the hospital, so
Yeah.
I'm a little out of touch.
So it launched with a trailer called the Automaton trailer, and in this there are going to be robots, and they have their own little bases that you will be attacking with your squad of Helldivers. So
like enemy robots?
Yep, enemy robots. Think they look like something out of Terminator.
Okay, so not a mech suit that I can call down and destroy.
No, they didn't show anything new as far as like abilities, but they did. This is like think of it of like all those bases you attack in like a Far Cry scenario, right?
Yeah.
Like this looked like that, and ended on them just bombarding it into orbit. So
okay, that's what you look for in sequels, right? You look to kind of figure out new ways to innovate and have a similar gameplay experience with more innovation and more things to do. So yeah, different types of enemies, different objectives to complete in a map sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's definitely different. It definitely looked varied from the bugs that we've been seeing so far. So it is something different, and I recommend if you're listening to this to check it out. But yep, comes February 8th for $40.
Sweet.
All right, and another update is we talked about Unity last week, and sure enough, as we discussed, they're walking it back. They had their "We're sorry"
We're sorry
post, and this comes from Steven Totillo from Axios. He says, Unity revised plan may still charge some teams with fees calculated off of installations of their games, but the company is making that fee structure optional and more easily avoidable for smaller developers. And then they kind of go into the details. Basically, they're kind of changing their numbers, their targets a little bit here and there. Again, you can read their blog post about all the different pricing announcements, but it is more in line with how their current pay structure is. So
it's just one of the more miscalculated moves I remember seeing in a long time. I understand the economics are changing, but man, you can't just put out a statement like that and expect everybody to go, "Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah,
We'll pay. I'll pay more money."
Yeah, the official announcement was it literally said the first line was, "Hi, I'm so and so from Unity, and I'm sorry." Like it didn't.
It's kind of like the Blizzard had one of those with the Diablo patch.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, exactly. So they're walking it back.
Hi, I'm so and so. I was the one who drew the short straw. Please don't hurt me too bad.
So we'll see what this means. Will there be less games on Unity going forward after other teams finish their projects? Probably likely, but
that's
we'll
my
see.
thought, man. Is the damage I almost feel like already has been done. Like you burned trust, and that's a very powerful thing, very strong thing. So going off of what we kind of talked about last week with all the different developer reactions, one of my favorite reactions that I don't think we talked about is the Terraria developer pledged $200,000 a month to a competitor of Unity. I didn't read in depth, but that's big boy speak, man. That's right. And Terraria is one of those low key sold 60 million, 70 million copies. Yep. So it's not a thing to sneeze at. So I think Unity will continue to shrink.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yep. Well, we'll see.
Yep.
But I'm sure the current games will still be on Unity, like Silksong and others like that. And then the next topic is Tokyo Game Show happened, and I wish we had a bunch of announcements enough to make it a thing, but it just didn't turn out that way. While we did get some deep dives into existing projects like Dragon's Dogma 2 and Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. It was barren for new announcements. But one of the little observations I made while seeing all these release dates come up is that the first quarter of next year is packed with JRPGs. You have Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth coming January 26th, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink coming February 1st, Persona 3 Reload coming February 2nd, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, that small title that we talked about last week, is coming again February 29th, and then Unicorn Overlord is Overlord is coming March 8th. So you got this like 5-week period of just JRPG coming out. So it's whew.
Yeah, it's I feel like every single year we move into the future, American society tries to become Japan. Like, I feel it in myself. I feel it with just the people I talk to. It's just, you have a conversation about anime 10 years ago and people are like, shut up. What are you talking about? And you have that conversation today, you will have more people interested in, like, by more than half of the people you're around be interested in it. So to see that grow is cool. I think I'm always for cultures kind of mixing and showing us what do we have, what do you have, maybe take some ideas from there and here and there. And Persona blowing up, Final Fantasy being stronger than ever. It's pretty cool to see. So
yeah, now
we need Nier Automata 2, and we'll be good.
Sorry, yeah, that wasn't that. Yeah, even that there no announcements in that realm either. Ooh. Sorry, John.
That's fine.
We'll have to bring it back.
You can't hurt me anymore.
Yeah, we don't have a 2B section because there are no new 2B announcements. So, and then our next news item is that Hideki Kamiya is leaving Platinum Games. If you're not familiar with his body of work, it's, I don't know, Resident Evil, Beautiful Joe, Okami, Bayonetta.
You're forgetting a big one.
Oh, yeah? Which one am I?
Devil May Cry.
Oh, yeah, Devil May Cry. Yep, he was the director of the original Devil May Cry. What was the Scalebound? He was supposed to do that for Xbox, and that got famously canceled. So,
yeah.
He's kind of a big deal in Japan, but he's leaving Platinum Games on October 12th. They didn't say why, but I don't know. You've been in the industry for close to 30 years. He's probably just taking a break from game development.
Maybe. I don't know, man. These Japanese guys, like, they are workhorses. I mean, he's 52, so he's definitely getting up there. I could maybe see him taking a nice long vacation, but he seems like the kind of guy that would come back with starting his own studio kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
52, like, you think of guys like, I think Kojima's in his 50s, Sakurai is Kojima's 60. Sakurai's, I think, up there, so yeah, it's but he's one of those big. He's in that conversation.
Yeah. There's a lot of talent there, and anything he wants to do, he'll get funding for. I'm sure any kind of project if he decides to spin up his own studio. But yeah, you're probably right. That's probably exactly what's happening.
I would love to see him try and start a brand new horror franchise. I mean, we had a really big horror year this year with Dead Space remake, Resident Evil 4 remake, but like it's been a while since a new horror franchise really, I feel like, got off the ground. You got the Evil Within and the Evil Within 2, and those are good, but it'd be interesting to see what a guy like Kamiya, 30 years, 27 years removed from Resident Evil, if he has any new ideas now that he's not shackled by corporate Platinum Games type things. So
yeah. So yeah, we'll see where he lands, but I imagine we won't know for a minute here. And that's all I got. That's all the news items. So now we can finally get into how the show works. John and I both bring up the 3 things to talk about. It could be a video game we're playing, a news item, a topic, an email to PlayStationPalsPod@gmail.com, a Twitter DM at PSPalsPod, or a comment on our YouTube page at PlayStationPals. Any of those things, we feel like bringing it. And we got 4 things for you today. Well, technically 5. That last one was pretty meaty, so we technically brought 5, but 4 things to go. And John's going to kick things off.
Yes. So, as I mentioned, I was, a little under the weather this past weekend, so I haven't been able to play a ton of video games.
Unfortunately.
I had my second kidney stone with some, fun complications. So, kids, drink your water. Avoid copious amounts of caffeine, and just don't fuck around with that kind of stuff because it really, really sucks. Really sucks. But luckily, there's some big news items to talk about, Nick, and the big item from last week is this big Microsoft FTC leak. Where a bunch of very sensitive, redacted type information somehow found itself onto the internet. And it's kind of happened in one of the funniest ways possible, honestly, where it was basically an intern at Microsoft uploaded a bunch of redacted documents, but also an unredacted document that had all the things in here into, I don't know, was it the FTC database? I don't know where it was specifically.
Yep.
But, we got to see kind of Xbox laid bare a little bit here. And I just kind of wanted to not go through this in depth, Nick, but, kind of pull out maybe some highlights, things like that. And
I do want to point out a lot of this is from years ago, 2020. It's very old. Again, things change. So don't take what all the articles we're going to bring up here or the things we're going to say as like fact. Like it's just, it was never supposed to see the light of day. And
a lot of this information came from 2020. A lot of emails from Phil Spencer dated August 2020, things like that. So, this is not verifiable evidence that these things are happening. There's some stuff in this leak, such as Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be getting a next-gen update. And while that may be true, we've also, since 2020 of August, have had information saying that there was something going to happen and then it got canceled.
Yep.
So, a lot of this stuff is kind of wishy-washy. But, Nick, I think, we each kind of bring 3 of these things that we think are going to be,
that stood out to us.
That stood out to us, and, go over them. So, do you want to kick it off, or do you want me to kick it off?
I can kick things off.
All right, kick it off.
The first one is an email from Sarah Bond to Phil Spencer about what it costs to bring each game to Game Pass. And this is just their internal estimates. This is not them reaching out to publishers and asking how much to bring these games. This is what they internally are saying. And there's some really interesting ones, like Star Wars Jedi Survivor. They estimated that it would cost $300 million to bring that Game Pass day one. And I think this really backs up.
Oh my God. I haven't looked at this.
Okay. Oh, great.
Yeah.
This really backs up John's point of how Game Pass is just not sustainable without Microsoft's other endeavors. Because, how much does it take to recoup the cost of $300 million for one game to be on Game Pass?
20 million subscriptions?
Yeah, exactly.
That's like, and I think there's 30 or 40 total Game Pass subscribers. So that's over half of your monthly income.
Yeah, and then there's other games, Assassin's Creed Mirage, $100 million, Gotham Knights, $50 million. Again, these are their internal estimates. Red Dead Redemption 2, $5 million per month, just to keep that on there. Dying Light 2, $50 million, and so on and so forth. But one of the silly little ones that they estimated was this little game called Baldur's Gate 3. They estimated it would only cost $5 million to bring that to Game Pass.
Wrong. Maybe before reviews came out.
Yeah, but just to see how they kind of just didn't think that this game was going to be good. In fact, I think they referred to it as a second-rate Stadia PC game. What? In that same internal email.
Did you guys see Divinity Original Sin? Come on. That's like betting against Scorsese or Tarantino, guys. Come on.
Yeah, so not only, exactly, they had their history of bringing, some of the top-reviewed games of, the past 10 years, and then just Baldur's Gate coming out and being the best, tied for the best review game of this year is like, whoops.
Yeah, that's a big whoops.
If that was true, like getting Baldur's Gate 3 for $5 million would have been a slam dunk.
Yes. Yes. And there's the extra angle too of it being primarily a PC game. So you got your PC, Xbox, Game Pass and stuff there. But that would have been a steal if they could have gotten it for that price. But $300 million for Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And I think, that's just kind of proof of the games we've started to see come day and date, right? Like Lies of P. I really should have more than one example when I start a sentence.
The next Yakuza, the man who erased his name.
Yep, that kind of stuff. Like these are very, good games. People love Lies of P right now, but you're not fooling anybody if you say that these are the creme de la creme, the things that you want, the Jedi Survivor. So I don't know if they'll ever be able to get there then.
Yeah, any proven developer. Mortal Kombat 1's on here, they estimated $250 million.
Yeah,
and
at that point, I don't know. It's just such a weird. I would hate to have Phil Spencer's job. I'll tell you that. To have to make these decisions because
before a finished product too.
It just can't. I don't know. Just can't exist long term. We'll see.
Yeah. So that was very interesting. Again, these were their internal estimations of how much it would cost. But yeah, it ain't cheap to bring a single game to Game Pass or PlayStation Plus Extra for that matter. I'm sure Sony is paying these exact kind of prices for their games. So
For sure. Cool. Well, my first one, Nick, is the fact that we kind of have a loose confirmation for when next gen's going to start. Yeah. So they had a 2028 confirmation for next gen, and I think this is interesting for a couple different reasons. First and foremost, because there's been a lot of conversation in the industry as we move to all digital and things like that. If consoles are even going to stick around, and Microsoft would seemingly be the first one to bow out if anybody would, right? They don't sell a ton of consoles. They're into this subscription service thing. And so, there's kind of some conversations of like, well, by the next time the generations come out, will they maybe just have a Game Pass app that comes installed on all your TVs and things like that? So I think it's interesting to know for sure that, at least as of the time these emails came out, that they were planning for 2028 to be the next start of the next gen, which will be an 8-year cycle, which I believe is one of the, if not the longest cycles from console to console that we've kind of experienced, which makes sense with how much longer games do take to develop now. But also that they called it a hybrid game platform that fully utilizes the cloud. So not that that's surprising or shocking in any way, but more confirmation that we can really see the direction that these large companies are really trying to push the industry, whether through force or whether that's the natural way that things are going, if this is what the consumers want. Because whether you want it as a consumer or not, this is what's happening. So I just found it interesting that they were ready to do it at that point. I would have probably guessed 2027 or 2028 if you were to put money on it, but there is nothing like getting a new console. So like I'm already honestly almost counting down. Okay, 5 years. I got 5 years till I have like one of the best days of my I don't want to say of my life, but
Yeah, new hardware days are very fun, and as John and I remember when we got that day of our PS5s was. It's a day like no other. Yeah. New interface, just enjoying all the fast loading and just getting lost in Astro's Playroom. What a great day. Do you have any thoughts? I know not to put you on the spot, but like what you could even envision, like what does that mean, a hybrid game platform that fully utilizes the cloud? Is that just faster, lower latency Game Pass type shit, or I think it's just a console that will do both. Just like they are doing now. Like you can play on an Xbox One Starfield, but it's through the cloud. It's streaming. So I'm thinking that's what they mean by hybrid. Is like you have an option. You can download the game if you want, but I'm assuming by that year they'll push for everything to be streaming. I don't think this is the case, but is there any world that they go a Switch type route where it's like this hybrid thing that you can take the game you were playing through the cloud and then keep moving? Yeah, they'll never have hardware for a Switch competitor. It'll just be straight to phones like they're doing now. Yeah, and I mean with the iPhone 15 announcement saying that they can now run these Resident Evil 4s and things like that. Yeah, I mean if we're not there now, we'll be there surely in 5 years. Yeah. For our phones that we all carry around in our pockets to be able to run this stuff. It'll just be interesting if Apple and Google will allow. For money, they will. Yeah, for a lot of money, for a cut of your sales of anything in your store. Like it's definitely a future battle. Because they kind of get cut out, right? Like say if I buy Starfield from the Google Play Store, they get their cut. But if I buy Starfield from Xbox and then stream it on my phone, obviously that's a bad example because it's it's exclusive to Xbox anyway. But just think of any game that you could possibly, like Resident Evil 4. Like if I wanted to play that on my phone, Apple and Google definitely want me buying it on their phone, not buying it on Xbox so I can play it on my phone. That's a good point. So I mean, that's going to definitely be a future battleground for these companies, man. Is figuring out this digital economy. Yep. And speaking of consoles, I'll just piggyback off that. My next highlight is that Microsoft again is, according to their emails, is planning an Xbox Series X refresh next year, which is not surprising, but this will be an all-new designed, digital-only Xbox Series X. So no disc, no nothing. Just it looks like a trash can, like the old Apple iMacs. It is no longer a box. It is false advertisement. yeah, exactly. It's just the Xbox Series X. I think it's got 2 terabytes in it. Which is good. They don't change the price, which I think is a failure. If that thing's not $400, then they're missing out. But
That's the weirdest thing for me is that you plan a refresh, right? And when you plan these refreshes, you got to have reasons to either refresh or buy one first off, right? And so if you're buying one first off, this argument doesn't apply. But like, it doesn't run the games any better.
Yeah.
It doesn't load any faster. It just has an extra terabyte of storage as far as I can see.
Right.
So like, yeah, it's sure it's cool if you want a cylinder as opposed to a cube, I guess.
And it's less hardware. It doesn't have the disk drive. And by the time it releases, the parts should be cheaper than what you were paying, in 2020.
Thing, man. Could just straight up be an inflation thing,
True.
Where it's like if you go with the rates of inflation, it probably is $100 cheaper, like if not $200 cheaper. It's just the unfortunate reality of the situation. But
and again,
it's still optically
internal. They could launch this thing, which is currently codenamed Brooklyn. This could be launched for a cheaper price. Again, this is when it leaked. They were looking at this, but I thought it was interesting. Again, the rumors of a PlayStation new model with a USB-C disk drive detachable.
Yeah, where's that?
That's been rumored for a long time.
That was rumored to be this fall.
Yeah, that's obviously not coming out. So maybe it comes out next year and competes with this.
Yeah, interesting.
But it is always interesting to see where the consoles are going. Like, it is interesting to get new consoles, but also see where the refreshes go and how these consoles are going to look, going forward for people who buy them next year or refresh their own hardware.
Well, it'll be interesting too if this is Microsoft's one and only quote unquote refresh, like, and Sony comes out with a PS5 Pro, and while it doesn't really matter, people love to see what the highest number is, and it's like, oh, we do 8K now, and we do this and we do that, and it's like, will that be viewed as a mistake for Xbox? They probably don't care because, again, part of this, and this isn't in my 3, but we found out that 75% of all Xboxes out there are Series S's, which is a higher number than...
That's a boondoggle for me.
Ah, shit. That's not even one of mine. All right, well, you want to take your third here in a sec? But, but as we see, like, most of the ones out there are this lower version. So, they just simply might not care.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. So moving into my third highlight that John spoiled is... in an internal document, again, they say that, pull it up, and I got this from Taylor Lyles of IGN, because
good old Taylor.
Yeah, he's gotten well, I'll say what the leak is, and then they reach out to some experts on this kind of stuff. But in the leak, their console sell-in mix, the document reveals that 74.8% of Xbox Series owners own the Series S. And with the rest of that being the Xbox Series X. And again, the Series S is the cheaper, lower power Xbox platform as opposed to the Series X. And for that, it's the much cheaper one. So from those numbers, if that is correct, John, how surprising is that to you?
It's kind of surprising, honestly. Like, if you were to ask me, I would have thought 50-50 at the most. If anything, a slight edge to the Series X. People are always obsessed with getting the best thing out there. But maybe it really isn't surprising because Microsoft has been teaching their customers to, like, not necessarily want the top line of anything. Like, we buy our Game Pass subscription. Don't buy this, top of the line AAA game like The Last of Us. You want the subscription because you get the most value for your buck. Like, they're very value focused, and while that is good from a consumer standpoint, it's just like, you've just kind of taught your consumer base that this is the avenue if you want to be in this ecosystem. Again, that's fine, but maybe it shouldn't be as surprising as it is. But
yeah, I mean, look at the Switch. Nintendo decided to do their own thing, and it's not nowhere competing. I mean, there's a bunch of funny pictures out there of the Mortal Kombat 1 version running on the Switch, and it ain't great. But if this data is to be believed, that is kind of shocking. It's like every time new hardware is announced, it's all about the flops, man. Like, how many flops does this one run, and all the hardware data, and it seems like.
Well, it's funny, man. I just remember when they were both announced, it's like, oh, the Xbox has more flops. Like, we're going to destroy you guys. We got 12 teraflops, and you guys got 10. And it's like, you guys didn't even fucking put your money where your mouth is. And you guys all went and bought Series S's anyway. Like, yeah, so it truly does not matter.
So IGN did reach out to Daniel Ahmad and Matt Piscatella, who seem to be our experts in their firms about this kind of stuff. But
he's the guy that produces the NPD every month. So he knows all the numbers.
That their firms think that it's more closer to 50-50 with the S still leading the X, though. Okay. So it is a lot closer than that. But even that, I would have thought, if I'm buying a console, I'm buying because the buy-in, well, everyone's budget's different, but
Right.
the way consoles last forever, you know, it's just like I'm making this one-time purchase. I'm going to get the better version, especially if I got the 4K TV and all that. Why would I get the Series S? But yeah, it still blows my mind that most people are playing on the lower-powered platform.
What would also be interesting to see is how many of the Series S users have a different system too, like where that's just like, this is my Game Pass machine, so I can play Starfield, so I can play the couple things I want. It's not my primary thing because I'm not going to spend, you know, like myself and get the nice one because I'm an idiot. You know, you're going to get the other thing that just lets you get there, and so you know, again, it's just Microsoft's different approach to sales as opposed to the other ones. So
yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would have argued I hate that the Series S exists because all these developers have to make a game for it if they're going to release on the Xbox platform. But then this data comes out and you're like, nope, Xbox was right on that.
Yeah, they were right, but like you do wonder, like, you know, there have been different developers out there. You know, there's a lot of conflicting information about this, so I don't think we'll know until well after this generation. But like, you know, what is the actual impact on the Series S with a development schedule? Does that have any? You know, obviously it has some you know, issue with Baldur's Gate 3, right? So like, if that's one example, there's got to be more. And you know, is it really the best thing for your ecosystem to hamstring yourself like that? Don't know. We won't know for a while.
True.
All right, Nick, my number 2 and number 3, since I stole yours. So number 2, I was very pleased to see kind of a lineup of Bethesda games that are going to be coming out. Selfishly, of course. So a little bit on the shocking side is we got to see that Dishonored 3 is in the plans, which I wouldn't have expected that. I kind of think Dishonored is this franchise that people love, but it doesn't necessarily, you know, blow people's doors off or demand millions and millions of copies sold. So the fact that that's getting a third one is pretty cool. I like Deathloop a lot. Hopefully Arcane can, you know, bounce back.
And I don't know how Dishonored 2 ended. Would have, if there wasn't a third game, would that be a fitting end to this franchise or
yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, because they did do the DLC Death of the Outsider as well, so you know there probably is more stories to tell. But it's also something you could probably Assassin's Creed the shit out of that franchise. It's like, yeah, this is just another guy with cool abilities.
Yeah.
But so we got to see Dishonored 3. Of course, a new Doom game is in development. That would probably jump to my number 1 Xbox game that I would want. You know, once that gets confirmation. But then also we got some talks of a Fallout 3 and Oblivion remakes, which those are probably my 2 Bethesda games, right? Like Skyrim is great, and I understand it's a more fleshed out game than Oblivion is, but when I bought my PS3 in 2007, I got Ninja Gaiden Sigma and I got Elder Scrolls Oblivion. And that was the first time I really played a game like that. And then after I played Oblivion, I was like, well, I got to check out Fallout 3 also. And that also just captivated the shit out of me. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see if
Careful what you wish for.
I know. You think they'll be bad?
Well, they'll probably be what they were then, and I think nostalgia plays a big part when you play those games now.
I agree. I'm curious to see specifically how Oblivion would be. Like Fallout 3, I think, you know, you can kind of get lost in the desolation of it. Just there's a lot of well-written characters and things like that. But Oblivion is very... When did that game come out? 2004, 6, 5? Somewhere around there. I'm not sure. But even if it's just like up-resed and kind of allows me to get back into the world, I really liked exploring that map and then coming across an Oblivion gate, going into this weird hell-looking dimension, clearing it out. It kind of acted as a camp, and then you get out and you get some cool ability or something. So the fact that those are around makes me happy. Do you think Fallout 3 and Oblivion have any chance to come to PlayStation? Being that those are legacy titles.
No.
Quote, unquote. Okay.
No, I think anything coming out of Bethesda going forward, we got the news of, I don't know if this is your third thing. I don't want to spoil it, but it's the Elder Scrolls 6. Shocking. Oh, my God, is not coming to the PlayStation. And my sarcasm there is because it's not shocking. When you buy a publisher, you keep their games on your platform. So, no, not a chance.
So, while that's not my third thing, it's kind of a good segue. So, the third thing that I had was Phil Spencer saying that Nintendo is the prime asset as well as Valve. And so, while there could be a lot of nuance to look into that, right, you know, on Kyle Bossman's latest episode of Delayed Input, he kind of goes into it, and it does have an air of like, well, you're just trying to respond to somebody who like gave you an idea, right? Like, oh, that is a good idea, but this is why we can't do it, is I think what Kyle says. But I just don't like the idea that these guys are even thinking of it, that they're thinking of, we can buy Nintendo, we can buy Valve, we can buy everything. And
you can't afford Valve. Not even Microsoft.
No, they could though, but I know what you're saying. But that the fact that they are looking to monopolize the entire industry, or that they would if they could, is concerning to me. And while I don't think anything like that would ever happen, I think the Japanese government would step in. I think Nintendo themselves would step in. I think everybody in the world would step in. Mario movie just made $1 billion. I don't want to let go of that. Just, kind of shows that they are who we thought they were. And, it's not shocking. These are
capitalism, John. I'm sorry.
I know. Late stage capitalism.
It's not Microsoft.
I mean, that doesn't only
I'm sure
exist in Cyberpunk?
I'm sure Sony had the same conversation, like how much to get Nintendo, but
sure, but probably no, because they probably know that they can't put that into their books. Like maybe they'd be like, well, how much would you guys cost? But they're not going to actually think of it, And there's just this whole. Since over this whole ordeal, since the Activision Blizzard thing has all started, like just these arguments of like, well, it's okay when Sony buys Final Fantasy 16. It's like you're going to compare Nintendo to Final Fantasy 16 or Bethesda, like publishers. It's just silly and not shocking again. But just the fact that Phil Spencer has an email out there saying like, yeah, we could buy Nintendo. Pretty funny to me.
I think he was humoring, like you said, in the lead up to this. He's humoring the thought that someone, because the title of the email is Random Thought. That he's responding to with this, but I think he's more in the line that it would be great if Nintendo maybe not all their games, but maybe some of their legacy titles were to show up other places. Like they would make money for sure. If Super Mario Sunshine or GameCube games started coming out on PlayStation and Xbox, they would sell tons of copies.
Oh, dude, they should just go. What Nintendo should do is they should go back to when they had their virtual store and just put the virtual store on everything, right? Because okay, cool, I can play Super Nintendo, anything up through GameCube. Keep it 2 or 3 generations removed, and then that'd be fucking awesome. They would make so much money.
But no, they want to resell you those games on their platform. Yeah. So not gonna happen. But
that's fair.
It was an interesting email to theorize about. So
So I mean, if there are more tidbits here and there, it's obviously a pretty lengthy read. So if you're kind of interested in more of that, just FTC leaks, Microsoft, I'm sure you'll get all sorts of information. But those are kind of some of the bigger bullet points. Again, it was a ton of information, but nothing that like laid. They didn't have their fucking dick flop out on the table and be like, oh, here's all of our secrets. It was kind of just more of a. There's a good period of time between when the leaks happen and now, and nothing too crazy to get too stirred up about. But
and things change, so
things change.
Things that they talked about may never happen. We might not get a new Xbox refresh next year.
Just ask Rocksteady. Things change.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, all right, so we can move on to the next thing, and that's the other big news that's been taking over the internet is that Cyberpunk 2077 got its 2.0 update. And if you've been listening to us on a regular basis, you know that I am kind of a fan of Cyberpunk 2077, including making it my game of the year last year. How things work on the PlayStation Pals is we include games we played that year, not just their release year.
Kratos is sad.
Yeah, so it defeated Kratos, and it is great to see kind of everyone coming back to this game in droves, and just all the Twitch streamers and everyone else, and just seeing, especially like... I'm sorry, Starfield, but to be shoved between Baldur's Gate 3 and Cyberpunk 2077, I'm sorry, you do not even hold a candle to those games. Just watching people play through the game and just being like how well the characters animate and look, it's just incredible. And if you haven't played Cyberpunk 2077, now's the time to play it, John, because the new 2.0 update really revamped everything. And so I downloaded it and checked it out, and the very first thing is like I haven't played Cyberpunk in over a year, so it was just like, oh, how do I even play this game anymore? And I am still afraid for when the Phantom Liberty expansion comes out that I'm going to have this kind of
they're going to
adjustment.
Yeah, they're going to ease. I mean, for real though, they'll ease you in.
I hope. The Horizon Burning Shores it threw me right into a big robot battle. So
that's true, but Cyberpunk has the full redemption arc to redeem, and they're at the goal line, man. So
yeah, and I think they probably understand, even though they're suggesting people replay the game now that this update is out, and a lot of that has to do with the passive abilities. So I'll just get into that right away. But in this game now is the way you get skill points, you get perks, you apply those, but also now they have on top of that is that when you play as a certain type, so if you're playing as a net runner, you're hacking people all the time. It's kind of how it worked in those older Fallout games, and Skyrim games, where those skills will just naturally go up. So in Skyrim, you kept using the bow, your proficiency in a bow, your skills would go up.
I like that.
So this has this in as well, and it's only incremental percentage updates. Your damage with these weapons will go up and stuff, but that's in this now. So again, it would behoove you to start from the beginning because then you're kind of getting those perks as you go. But I loaded it into the game, and it instantly. I'm a level 50 character, and it instantly reset all my skill points.
Oh, great!
And so I was faced looking at the new perk system, which is great. It actually makes sense. It's trees now. Everyone knows how to upgrade in a tree, and kind of like a D&D or Baldur's Gate, you kind of have your overall stats, and your overall stats just can let you get further down in the tree. So if you have 20 points in body, you can get the ultimate skills in the skill tree for body. And so everything just makes more sense to how it previously worked. Kind of previously, skills were just placed all over the place, and you did have to be level 20 in body to get those ultimate ones, but it just didn't make sense. It was visually confusing, so they kind of streamlined all that up, and they've added car combat is another big update in it, and every perk tree now has an additional thing for car combat. So if you go into body and you want more armor and your vehicles that be able to take more damage, you can unlock a perk in that tree for that. If you're a net runner, you upgraded your intelligence, you can now hack cars and force them to explode, stuff like that. So everything just makes sense. The game is just more robust, and I'll be honest, John, I have not put any of my perks in yet because I don't know what I want to be again.
Sure.
This
is the opportunity. Do you become a new cyber ninja man, or do you become?
Because I was running Mantis. I was doing hacking, mantis blades, and pistols, and I think I'm going to change that, especially now that the trees are associated with their corresponding thing. So I never checked out the mono wire, which is kind of like this whip that you retract from your arms, and that's built into intelligence. So I can be a hacker, use the mono wire, and use smart weapons because they're also tied to that. Because now weapons are each tied to their respective tree. So like heavy weapons and shotguns are tied to body. Throwing knives and blades are tied to cool. So you can just kind of see where you want to go with that stuff. So I had not put points into anything. I'll have to make my decision before I go into Phantom Liberty, but everything's great. And the one thing I did check out was the new police system. It was broken in the base game before. Cops would just appear behind you. It didn't make a lot of sense. You could still get more cops if you got your thing up, but it just didn't make sense. They would just spawn out of nowhere. Now, cops are everywhere. They're walking the street, they're doing things. They're getting.
You guys wanted cops? Here's some cops.
Yeah, they're engaging with other people. So I saw a cop do a traffic stop, and it just turned into an all-out brawl, because they were from one of the gangs in the game.
But this was just occurring off to the side?
Yeah, it was occurring off to the side. So, yeah, he was pulling them over, and I just decided to stop because I knew the cops were different. And, it turned into this all-out brawl. So,
okay. Well, it's exciting listening to you talk, man, because I haven't really dived too much into what the 2.0 update has because I knew I was going to play it regardless. But a lot of the RPG mechanics you're explaining are like the kind of RPG mechanics I like. I like being rewarded for doing the things that I'm doing. I like having passive abilities. I like an easy to read skill tree because that admittedly was something. And my limited time with it was just I felt when I was upgrading my character, I'm like, this is confusing. There's a lot of different tabs to flip through. There's a lot of different skills that I don't quite know what they tie into. So it's encouraging to hear that, that's all been fleshed out. And I'm excited. I'm going to have to restart. I only got to the part, one of the very first big narrative moments. So 2 hours in, it's not too big of a thing to reset, but I think I'm going to as well. Cause I loaded it in, downloaded the update. I was like, let me check it out. And I was like, whoop, I don't know anything again. So
right.
I'll just restart again for the third time, but this will be the time.
Yeah. I think a lot of it's just making smarter decisions. And one of them is crafting and loot. Before, if you wanted to craft a legendary shotgun, you had to have 6, 7 different pieces now. Now it's just there's legendary crafting loot. exotic and so on and so forth. The stuff we're used to, your gold, your purple, your blues.
Ooh, love the gold, purples.
Yeah, now that not only just applied to weapons, it's applied to crafting materials, and it's just as simple as that. You want to upgrade your legendary gun, you just need X amount of the legendary crafting material, and that's all it is.
Was that a World of Warcraft thing? Is that what started all that?
We'd have to look into it.
The earliest for me that I was just thinking here is like Borderlands, but I know World of Warcraft had to have done.
Yeah, it's probably been around for quite some time. The different color loot, and again, it's
maybe
just
Diablo.
They just streamlined the whole process of this game. It runs better. It loads really fast now, which I wish Baldur's Gate 3 would do, but no, this game loads really well. So if you're loading previous saves, or you're like, I didn't like how that dialogue went, I'm gonna go back. Super fast loading. It's the game I wish it launched as, but I'll just have to wait for the sequel, because then now the sequel will be perfect.
Yeah.
But this is a great spot for people like John to jump in, because it's everything's fixed.
Yeah, way to not wait, Nick. You dummy. Just for those out there, it was Diablo started the color coding thing.
Okay.
Diablo
so it's been a minute.
Diablo 1 had white, blue, and then orange for normal, magic, and unique, and then 2 really fleshed it out. So
okay.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
That's good, man. That's as soon as I'm done with Sea of Stars, which I'm getting close to. I mean, that's what I plan on jumping into. So
I'm glad to hear it.
I know
I
you
really want to talk about this game with other people.
Can't wait to shit all over it.
Nah. You're gonna have a great time.
And we got some people on the team, I think, that are playing through it too, which is cool.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It seems like
Have some
like
water
I said,
cooler discussions.
Everyone's jumping into it, and it rose on Twitch, it rose on Steam, everything. So everyone's getting back into Cyberpunk, and yeah, again, and Phantom Liberty reviews are out. It's out as you hear this podcast, and obviously I'll be checking that out and bringing it next week. But it just, it's great to see these. Obviously the game has to sell well initially. I think that's the prerequisite for them to get these redemption arcs. Is like, No Man's Sky, Cyberpunk 2077. They sold really well despite all their issues. So and of course the developers could just take that money and do whatever they want. But it is nice to see them go back, fix the game, and in Cyberpunk's case, like just totally revamp the entire way the game works. And same with No Man's Sky. And you like to see these stories, because you can get Cyberpunk 2077 for like $5.
That's what I bought it for.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's super interesting when you think of CD Projekt Red in this game, and it's like, dude, I don't ever recall so much vitriol in the internet since when that game came out. And I almost thought like it was the end of CD Projekt Red. Like, are they ever going to be able to recover from this? Their next game is going to be under such scrutiny, and I almost feel like they've fucking pulled it off, where like they're going to come out with their next game. People aren't even going to really think about it. They're going to be like, hey, you remember Cyberpunk? And be like, yeah, pre-order. Like, I think they did it. I think they figured it out, and it was the hard path. It was the hard thing to do. But, you got to applaud them when places or, companies and people do things like that. So.
Well, CD Projekt Red has been so public with what their upcoming games are. It is just Witcher 4 and Cyberpunk 2077 too. So they'll be fine. Like those. The track work is laid out. Like, how are those games really going to be bad? They may be buggy, but
they'll be buggy. But I think the press is going to really probably grill them too. Like, and just make sure that like previews and press coverage and all that stuff is like, okay, this is a PC build. Let me see the PS5 build or whatever the case is. Because for those who don't know, that was the issue with Cyberpunk. Really, was last gen consoles just didn't work. So. And
last gen consoles did not get this update. That is to note. The
About
last update was
time.
1.6 for them. So they cannot play Phantom Liberty. They cannot get the 2.0 update. So it's just
I think we finally
current consoles.
Is Spider-Man 2 the first PS5 exclusive that's not coming to last gen, like of consequence?
I would say. I mean,
what was the last?
Returnal and Ratchet and Clank were
right
PS5 only. I think that's and Demon Souls remake.
Yeah. What was the PS5 exclusive before Spider-Man this year?
This year?
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 16.
Right. Okay. Like I said, but that's third party. Yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting. I think we finally got past it, which feels good.
Yeah, it does feel good to have current gen only
games.
So.
All right, Nick. So Longtime listeners of the show will remember how we once figured out who the top PlayStation franchise was in PlayStation history, and we figured out God of War, of course, was the winner of that. And so I thought it was time, Nick, being that I was in the hospital, didn't play a ton of video games, needed to bring some topics, tried to formulate a new thing. And, after last week of you hating on my Nintendo ranking, I thought, well, let's do something a little different, a little more in-depth. And what I did is I put together a list of what I felt were 60-ish of the most popular, biggest, whatever you want to call them, video game characters out there. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have ourselves a little battle royale. Now, it's going to be a long-form battle royale because we're not going to have these guys all go together at the same time. But what I want to do is I want to have a random drawing between the two of us where I'm going to champion one of these characters. You will champion one of these characters. They will go head-to-head after we debate them. Now, we're calling upon the audience here a little bit to help us, right? Because Nick and I, we can argue all day long till the cows come home, but we're just going to argue for our own picks. We need a little bit of input from people. So, the Jessies, the Marks, the Wills, the Jakes out there. If you guys can, listen to our little arguments here, they're going to be a minute apiece, keeping it nice and short. Let us know who you think wins. If you want to be silly and vote for the one, if you just whatever. This is all fun and games. Nobody's taking this seriously. Just trying to see if we can whittle this thing down to who the last man standing is for the Battle Royale. So, Nick and I have already pulled our picks for this week. We did this last week. Now, we are going to do two at a time, two matchups, right? So I have two, Nick has two. For now, that will take us about a year to do. So it's going to be a long time thing. So if also when you're writing in to vote, if you're saying, hey, I could really go for another matchup or whatever the case, or like, no, two's perfect. We want to listen to this for a year. Listen to you guys be idiots for a year.
We'll see how each podcast works out, right? Like if we have nothing going on, we could hammer out 10 of these, like it's not in the realm of impossibility. So, and we're going to see how it works. This is new to both of us. Mm-hmm. As you'll hear, some of us are going to be arguing characters that we are not too familiar with, so that'll be fun. But
and then matchups that make absolutely no sense.
No, exactly.
Again, who cares?
So yeah, and I think me and John will, if there is a tie, we'll decide.
We can be adults, or maybe we'll ask somebody on the team or something.
Yeah, we can be adults initially, but maybe some of these matchups won't.
That's true.
Be as good,
once personal feelings get involved.
Yeah. All right, John. So what is our first matchup?
All right. So first that matchup, very fitting for you, Nick.
Yep.
You got yourself your boy, Cal Kestis, from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Newly formed Padawan Jedi person. I don't really quite know, but versus one of the most storied characters in all of video games. Ferocious, scary, yellow Pac-Man. All right, so we got Pac-Man versus Cal Kestis.
How do we not cut Pac-Man?
Because he's Pac-Man. He's legendary. It's if he dies in the first round, if he dies, he dies.
Okay.
It is what it is. But I had fun trying to figure out ways to have him beat a Jedi. So I don't know if you wanna go. You go first this round. I go first the next round.
Sure.
Or however you want to do it. But I'm gonna put a minute on the clock.
Do we need a timer?
Yes, we need a timer.
So the timer, what is the timer? Just because I'm not going to go a minute explaining Cal Kestis.
Cal Kestis can. So you cannot exceed a minute, but you can go under a minute. If you're done, just say I'm done. Okay. I don't want one of us to ramble for 7 minutes, and then it would be me. Ramble for 7 minutes about why 2B is the greatest thing in the world, and then it have no relevance.
Is she in this? I don't remember seeing.
Yeah, of course she's in this. Come on.
Oh boy.
All right.
It'll be a hard time eliminating that one.
Yeah, it will. It will. So I'm going to give you a minute, Nick.
All right. I don't need a minute, but
got
sure,
your thoughts?
go ahead and time it. That's fine.
All right. Ready, set, go.
All right. So first up, entering the ring, we have Cal Kestis, Jedi Master, who trained under Jedi Master Jaro Tapal. I don't really need to explain what a Jedi is, but, Cal Kestis is a premier one of those. Not only does he have all the abilities of the Force, he's also the master of several Jedi stances. So if you've seen the way Darth Maul fights or Kylo Ren fights, Cal Kestis can fight like that. He can use those lightsabers. He can go dual lightsabers. He can fight with a pistol and a lightsaber. He is a master of multiple Jedi stances. And then you got his resume. He has defeated multiple Inquisitors. So in the Star Wars universe, Inquisitors are Oh, I'm down to 10 seconds.
10 seconds, baby.
He's defeated multiple Inquisitors that hunt Jedi down, and he has also survived an encounter with Darth Vader. So that is why he should win.
Very nice.
Wow, okay, so maybe the time limit is...
Yeah, I mean, it's not as much as you think.
Okay.
All right. Cal Kestis in the books. All right, here we go. My timer starts now. Legendary character Pac-Man started in 1980. What does Pac-Man have, Nick? Pac-Man has experience. Pac-Man is elder, all right? He's got so much knowledge under his belt that Cal Kestis can't even stand it. What's the Jedi's number one weakness also, Nick? It's overconfidence. They're overconfident all the time. They just think they got this shit in the bag, then they get surprised, and look, their fucking order falls apart, all right? So Pac-Man's going to come in there. He's going to eat his power pellets. He's going to be invincible. A lightsaber can't harm power pellets. Has it ever been tested? Nobody knows. So all I know is that Pac-Man, while in pellet form, would gobble the fuck out of Cal Kestis, all right? Pac-Man's going to fight on his own terms. He's the elder. He's wise. He's respected. We're going to fight on our own turf. So Cal can't use his force abilities on little Pac-Man land. He's just going to bounce against the wall. He's going to be fine. And he doesn't get tired, Nick. He doesn't slow down. He just gobbles. He keeps going. You can keep hitting him. He can go, nom, 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 nom. I'm going to keep going until, he wears you down, because Cal Kestis, at the end of the day, he is a Jedi, but he's human. He's going to get tired. And that's why Pac-Man will win. All right. I like that. That was fun. Okay, so first matchup in the books, folks. We got Pac-Man versus Cal Kestis. Please write in who you think should move on into round 2. And then for matchup number 2, this one hurts a little bit for me, all right? As many people know, Final Fantasy X is one of my favorite games of all time. And when we drew this, Nick got Tidus, all right? And so I kind of
Is that how you pronounce it, Tidus?
It is Tidus, yeah, which is stupid.
I was going to say Titus.
Yeah, well, everybody does. So Nick got Tidus, which I'm a little worried that he's going to sabotage this and just let him die, but that's okay. Hey, that's on my arguments. And then also he's going against a juggernaut here. He's going against somebody that will have a hard time losing any fight, and that's Zagreus from Hades, the number 4 PlayStation Pals ranked game, Hades. So I guess I'll take it away here as to why Zagreus wins this fight. And get my timer here. All right. Zagreus from Hades. He is the son of a literal god, right? He is the son of Hades himself, who, I don't think needs any introduction. That's your royal blood immediately. He escapes hell. He gets out of there. He beats all the armies of Hades. He beats the big fucking Minotaur. He beats one of the Sisters of Fate. He beats his dad. All because he's just motivated to go see his mom. This guy will stop at nothing to be able to go see his mom, to fight his way out of hell. To do what he needs to do. He's a master of 5 different weapons, right? He'll hit you from short range. He'll hit you with his bow. He'll hit you with his gun. Tidus has to come up close. Tidus uses a sword. That's what he uses. So if he's not getting close, he doesn't really have a shot. He's faster. He's stronger. He's sexier. You just can't really do much against Zagreus, especially if you're Tidus. I mean, I feel like, unfortunately, the only people that are really able to stand up against Zagreus, we got Kratos, people on that level. So Tidus... he's just a dream. That's all he is. He doesn't even really exist in this world. So I don't know what he's going to be able to do against Zagreus.
Okay.
All
right. And obviously I have played Final Fantasy X and never beat it. So it is fun to get a character. And I'll say this, the motivation for not throwing a character onto the bus is because John might get Solid Snake or, a character important to me.
Geralt.
Or Geralt or, any of those characters. So, it's in my best interest to do his character right.
So,
all right, are you ready to start the clock on this one?
Ready when you start talking.
All right. So Tidus, he may not be the son of Hades, but he is the son of Major Blitzball star Jet. And you know what? He's not a mommy's boy like like Zagreus is. Oh, I gotta go see my mommy. No, he is there to protect the Guardian, Yuna. She's on a pilgrimage to put an end to sin. So, it's good to have some people with you. And you mentioned how Tidus is not very fast, but we're going to max out his spear grid. Tidus is the master of status effects, specifically time. He's got access to haste and slow. So, there goes Zagreus' speed advantage. Cast haste on me, cast slow on him. We'll see how fast you are. And, Zagreus, he may be the masters of multiple weapons. That makes you the master of none. That's why Tate is using only swords and shields in battle. He'll have the advantage. And again, he's a star of Blitzball. He can just wield a Blitzball in there and kick it at you, and there you go.
I love it. Good job, Nick. All right. So there you have it, folks. That is matchups 1 and 2 of this PlayStation Battle Royale, PlayStation Pals, whatever we want to call it. But I had fun. I think we can probably keep this going. So what we need to do here, Nick, is we're going to roll for next week's matchup. Okay.
All right.
So let me get my randomizer up here. Let me get my list of characters that I made.
And again, make sure to email in. I'll have it up on Twitter. Just let us know who you're going to vote for here.
That's right.
And again, if you have to make an argument for your vote, we'll read it. As we talk about the winners and losers next week, we can read if you can make a better argument than us for why they'll win. I'll happily read that. So.
And if there is also, I'm only one man. Like, I can't think of every character. If there's a cherished video game character you have, he might already be on this list. They might not, but let us know. Maybe we can add him. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, you ready for your next week's character?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Nick will be fighting for Nathan Drake.
Okay.
Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
All right.
Good one.
Versus
oh no,
Bowser.
Okay.
Nathan Drake versus Bowser. So you want to write that in the sheet? You got Drake, I got Bowser.
Yeah, Nathan Drake. Bowser. Sure.
Silly. All right. And then second matchup, I'm going to be first this time, okay?
All right.
I got Geralt.
Oh no, see, this is what I was just talking about.
God,
oh boy.
This is great already. Geralt versus
Oh boy.
Pikachu.
Oh Jesus.
So we got Drake versus Bowser and Geralt versus Pikachu. I feel like it should be Drake versus Geralt and Bowser versus Pikachu, but what's the fun in that? So that'll be next week's Battle Royale matchup.
All right, that'll be exciting. There's some defending our beloved PlayStation characters that we played on PlayStation versus Nintendo.
Yep.
Will be interesting. So.
Yep. Cool. That's all I got.
All right, so we're moving to the final thing. Again, this has been on my mind as I continue to play Baldur's Gate 3 and have some updated thoughts on the game as I'm in Baldur's Gate and I'm nearing the end. I'm actually starting to wrap up some of the companion quests, which I've had since the beginning of the game. So I'm there. I was hoping to get it done before Phantom Liberty, but I am going to have to.
I could see over the weekend you were trying your damnedest. I was like 8 in the morning. I'm like, oh, Nick's playing Baldur's Gate. I'm sitting here dying, and he's playing Baldur's Gate.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I did it to myself.
All right. So one of the first realizations I had while I'm playing the game is how much this is like the Mass Effect franchise in a couple ways. And if you're not familiar with Mass Effect, I'll kind of explain that. The first one is how well the side characters are in this. Like your base companions, Gale, Asterion, Lae'zel, Shadowheart, Karlach, and Will are incredible. They match, Garrus, Mordin, Liara, all my favorite characters from Mass Effect. And a lot of that is the writing. The writing's really good, and as their stories kind of take place over the course of the game, so you don't finish a companion quest in Act 1. It kind of reaches multiple steps until Act 3, and then you can finally, get the completion on their side character quest. And a lot of this is, the writing, but also the voice actors, which, again, they're just a bunch of British voice actors that you've probably never heard of. They're currently having a renaissance, of course, because, the game's reviewing well. People are falling in love with all these characters, and now
Is one of them the next Laura Bailey?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure, they'll be showing up in other games, but they're popping up everywhere. The voice actor for Asterion, Neil Newman, has been on IGN. They've all done.
Is that the sexy looking he's got like wavy blonde hair,
white hair? Yeah, the vampire.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, everybody's sexy in this game. So.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone is very hot.
Yeah.
But he's been showing up. The whole cast did a D&D game. I've been watching that and enjoying it. They're just basking in kind of like what we're seeing with all the Spider-Man 2 actors right now is part of the launch trailer was all the Spider-Man 2 voice actors, Laura Bailey, the Tony Todds, just kind of just basking in just your game's coming out. It's looking to be very good, and people are being drawn to you. They're probably, all their Twitter followers are probably through the roof, so they're all just lavishing in this extra attention, and for good reason. Again, they're just all incredible. But also like the Mass Effect franchises, this is like Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, like all in one game.
Smushed together.
Yeah, like all the, the first game, the scale's not very big, but you are making important choices. And then the second game is throwing even more characters, more choices in. And then the third game is trying to put a pretty little bow on all those decisions you make while throwing in there's probably 30,000.
30,000, huh?
30,000. I was
Yeah.
I was going to say 30 different endings, but I know there's more than that. There's just like all these characters are popping up, all have an interest in what you and your party's doing. That it's just crazy, like how they made this game. And
sorry, just a quick Google search: 17,000 ending variations.
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy, and I'm back and forth on this game, and we'll get into the back part. But why I'm down on the game too. But all these things are incredible. The writing, the characters, how they are acted is just great. The performances, all that. But on the other end is one of the things I've realized I do not like in video games anymore. And John, we can get your thoughts too. Is what are your thoughts on silent protagonists? Baldur's Gate has one. Starfield has one. Legend of Zelda. Link does not talk throughout that entire franchise. Everyone else around him talks. Yep.
I think they're dumb. I mean, I feel like they started just out of necessity back when, you couldn't put that much budget into a game, but like nowadays it just doesn't quite make sense. I get that it allows a narrative team to probably be a little bit more open-ended and just have everything happen around the character as opposed to with the character. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it will inevitably wear itself down, probably for me.
Yeah. So you'll have like Shadowheart going through this heartbreaking decision and just acted to perfection, and then I just choose from 5 lines of dialogue, and then she just reacts to that. It's not like my character makes facial expressions, but it's just not the same. It's like I want Commander Shepard.
You want to be Shepard.
Yeah, I want to be Shepard, or I want to be V from Cyberpunk, where I'm like, where my character is responding back in a similar tone to what they're doing, and it just feels more organic than the, like I would love to share. We share a lot of clips on the beginning of this podcast. It's hard to do games like this because, there's nobody talking back to them. So it's, and again, it's a voice actor. They're going to have to record a male and female voice line, maybe multiple voices.
But you recorded 17,000 endings.
Right.
So
right. Yeah. All the other characters are recording all these lines. So maybe you can do that here. But it is wild to think that they just didn't feel the need to do that with the protagonist in this. And
you think they're probably like, well, then this way the player can inject their own voice.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I'm sure people can write in and people prefer this way, these are all, again, Starfield is doing great. Baldur's Gate 3 doing great. Zelda also this year.
It's okay.
They're all doing great. They're not hurt by this fact that they have silent protagonists. But I do think like that's in my heart of hearts is like I would prefer voice, of course. So, and I'm glad you're on the same page there. And the other downer thing is this is what I like to refer to as a PC-ass PC game. Yeah. Where and Starfield's kind of the same way too, where every object in the world is interactive. I think one of the reasons I had to turn the game down to easy is because I'm not supposed to play it as front-facing as I appear to, like just walk into a combat encounter. Yeah. Every time I even on easy, when I get stuck on a boss, I try to look at what other people are doing, and it's always cheese. It's cheese this, cheese that. You have a steering, go stealth, and stab a few guys, or have Karlach run and push people off edges.
I saw somebody line like 20 explosive barrels around a boss and then just light them off like once the encounter starts and like,
Yep.
oh, boss is dead.
Yep.
It's like, okay, cool.
And that freedom is
cool.
awesome. Everyone likes that kind of stuff. Me, who is used to kind of a lot of console games where it's the limitations of the controller make it a little more hand-holdy. You don't have all the clicks and your cursor that can go all over the screen in an instant. So that is kind of getting to me too. Is like I don't want to read how to cheese a boss. I don't think that's an acceptable post. And I know Baldur's Gate 3 is a very long game, and there'll probably be more concrete guides on like just have this build or have that build. But also this game has a million different builds. You can't even plan for that.
You can't really balance it. You can balance it to a degree, but like to the level that it sounds like you're hoping for, probably just not going to really get there. And that's part of it. Part of the D&D experience.
Yeah, exactly. And again, people probably love that open-endedness, but I think it is one of the things that I'm bouncing off of. And while I'm kind of struggling with a lot of the harder encounters in the game, is that it's like, well, I should be pre-planning and positioning characters. And I think a big part of this game is to fail, like in reload saves, as far not just the dice rolls that you fail and checks and all that, but also just, oh, I didn't know this combat encounter was going to go this way. Now that I do, I can place 20 explosive barrels around the guy and then explode him when he engages me. So,
well, it's really hard too, because that's definitely makes sense to me that you're trying to reload, but as the player, it's hard to know if. Like, is that what is intended to be done, or am I just fucking up? And like that's a really hard thing to overcome in your head. Yeah. And then adding on this extra layer of like, oh, it's okay to get fucked up or to be fucked up. And it's like, yeah, I know, like, okay, this is just a different path that my character's taking, and I'm still gonna get a rewarding, enriching experience, but it feels bad.
Yeah.
It just feels bad.
Yeah, exactly. So. It like I said, to play on easy and hit your head against a wall on a certain encounter, you're just like, wow, what am I doing really wrong at this point? Like I have the game turned down to the easiest mode you can play. I'm on explorer mode. I'm just here for the story, and this one boss is just gonna
that's what Divinity felt
ass.
like. That's what I was just like, how do you do this?
Yeah, so I think like again, a PC player probably approaches this game in a different way. Especially if they play other games like this, but just in general, as opposed to me, who's used to my party should be able to defeat anybody. I would think, just as long as I make the right decisions once the encounter starts. I'm not thinking like before the encounter starts all the things I should be doing, but so that's just something that I've had to adjust to. And
let me ask you this, Nick. I mean, it sounds like you're almost over. You're almost done. Mm-hmm. Do you regret playing this?
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
Another question.
The story moments alone are so good. Like, they're really, really good. I get emotional on some of them. Like, they're just that good. Like, the payoffs for some of these characters.
If you care about the side characters as much as you say you do, then it's hard when these characters get put into these situations. It's like how I feel with Across the Spider-Verse. Like, why do I care about Miles so much? It's stupid. Second question. So, I would love to play this game. You knowing what you know about me, should I even entertain that thought?
I don't think so.
Okay. That's probably what I needed to hear.
Maybe, in particular in John's case is time.
Right.
And in a game where you're going to be reloading, like I have over 300 saves of, quick saves of me, because you have to quick save in this game all the time. Like you just have to, because again, every dialogue, every encounter can go really bad, really fast, and it just sucks to have to waste all that time. But you're gonna be reloading this game and being like, "Well, I'm wasting so much time," But I don't know, maybe you get something out of it.
Well, that's the thing, because it's like every once in a while I get a good 3 or 4 hour stretch. Most of the time, I'm getting an hour to an hour and a half, and it seems like one of those games where I spend the first 15 minutes remembering what I was doing, where I'm going.
Right.
I spend the next 15 minutes probably doing an encounter, and then like, oh, it's time for bed. It's like, what did I really get accomplished? Nothing. And then I start the next day. And it's like, so, yeah, I don't know. I still got Tears of the Kingdom to play.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So. And also, like Mass Effect is like in this end chapter is the gathering of allies. So I'm like, I have a quest that's just like, who are your allies for the final fight in this game? And it's like, I'm creating a list of everyone I help up into this point, and that is also something that happened in Mass Effect 3. Was the outcome of the final battle was determined by how many people you got to join your side of the fight. So
okay.
Yeah, so that's that. And like I am bummed that I'm gonna have to take a break because I just want to play Cyberpunk more than anything.
Yeah, I'm very curious what your score of this game is going to be. It could be a 3 to, probably a 3 or 4, but we'll see. Let you determine that.
Yeah, there's really nothing like it, especially on consoles. So it's like it's unique in that way, and I do think this will be Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Like I just it's doing so much right that it'll take down a Zelda game, which is very impressive.
The most impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there was I saw someone posted about what game got robbed from Game of the Year, and the image they posted with the question was Red Dead Redemption 2, which famously lost to God of War 2018. And it is wild to think about, like, that God of War took down Red Dead Redemption 2, and what an incredible game that is. And again, this is like, everyone's gonna have their own personal Game of the Year, and what does it really mean anyway? Like it's just a weird thing to like even argue about, but we're gamers. We argue about the small, petty things like that. So
yeah, we like accolades. We like trophies and things like that. So and also just saying my game's better than your game, my console's better than your console. That's unfortunately what we do.
Yeah. So
cool.
So that's where I'm at, and like I said, I'll have to put it down, unfortunately. But it's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride. It's a love-hate relationship. I think yesterday I was hating the game, and then at the same time, like 2 seconds later, being
start
like,
crying because like,
so
oh my god, I love you.
Yeah. So that's my take on it, and
cool.
Well,
so probably going to be a while till we get a final review from you then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I want to see it through. So
I mean, you're gonna have Cyberpunk done in 2 weeks though. So like.
Yeah. I have
I bet you can finish
bachelor weekend coming up, so I'll probably have a lot of things done.
I bet you can get Baldur's Gate done between Cyberpunk and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
So
I think by Spider-Man I should have Baldur's Gate and Cyberpunk done. So
cool.
But yeah. Whew. Eating good, John.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain. Games are out, and where are you at in Sea of Stars?
Almost, I'm further than you'd probably think. I got through a very, if you've played the game, there's a very big moment. I got through that, and I don't know. I'd probably say I'm 80% done, based on kind of what I've seen. I've seen, I've kind of just, whether it's you consider these spoilers or not. I don't. I just look up a walkthrough of a game, and then like, okay, here's the main mission, and then I look at how many more missions are left, and like to me, that's not enough of a spoiler. And like, there's not. I'm on like 42 of 50 or something like that. So, a lot of narrative changes have just happened that give it a lot more texture, which I really, really like. Some big emotional moments with characters, which is really cool. You wouldn't expect to, at least I wouldn't expect to get that in a 2D game. Really, this is probably the first 2D game that's ever really done that to me. At least in the, like, so I'd have to probably think about it more. But like anytime I, would try to play an old Final Fantasy game or turn-based RP, Chrono Trigger, things like that, it was always really hard for me to get into the characters based on just text and stuff, but they did such a fantastic job with Garl specifically and some other characters that it's hard not to care. And just like some of those story beats are just well done. Just when you first encounter the Fleshmancer, that's not a spoiler because he's the main enemy in the game, that was a really well done scene. There's just a lot of cool moments that kind of strike you as these big, like, To compare it to like Final Fantasy 16, right? There's a moment when you kind of finally confront your mom. And like, it has that same level of kind of like gravitas towards it that, the 3D games do. And I think that's really, really hard to do. And I'm super excited to finish it.
Okay. Do you think it has a chance of taking down FF16 as your current game of the year?
No.
I know you haven't seen the end yet, but
I don't think so. If I were to just kind of evaluate them on like my gut reaction feeling, 16 boss fights did something to me where I was just like, this is the cool, like the maximum cool level of video games.
Hey, right.
And Sea of Stars is one of the prettiest games I've ever played. I think it honestly deserves to be in the conversation with games even like Horizon Forbidden West and things. It's just like the pixel art is unbelievable. The character work is great. I have a few problems with, the combat could be a little bit better. Like, it's good. I really like it, but I think it'll be in the conversation, but probably not.
Okay. All right.
Definitely indie game of the year so far. So.
Other than that, do you have any other teases for next week?
No, I really hope to jump into Cyberpunk. I think I can get through Sea of Stars pretty quickly if I can get some time to play. No, I mean, I'm just excited to have our next battle next week with our characters. I think that was a ton of fun. So hopefully, look forward to Bowser. What was it? Bowser versus Drake and Geralt versus Pikachu. just a funny visual image. But no, I'm trying to be a good boy and not move on before I'm done.
Yeah, I know you got to tackle your backlog.
You might actually it's a good segue. So you might see my already limited intake of gaming get decreased because with this kidney stone thing, the doctor's main thing was no caffeine. So with my kids and everything, 9 o'clock rolls around and I'm bleh. So we'll see. Hopefully I can keep up a good clip, but yeah.
Okay.
At least get those ones done. What about you?
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier in the show, definitely it'll be Phantom Liberty big time, like just jumping back in and seeing what they do in this new expansion, seeing Idris Elba, wondering if I can fuck him or not, things like that. Those are important things.
How big's his dong?
Yeah.
So big. Shit, I forgot. Idris Elba's dong just I got rid of whatever I was going to say.
Okay.
So keep going. I have no idea what I was going to say.
No, that'll be the focus for sure. So expect, impressions, thoughts.
Oh, I remember.
Okay.
I was going to say, so you can always count on Nick to at least cover the new hotness. At least,
Yeah.
Me, I'm playing old games, but at least Nick will cover the new stuff.
Yeah. Well, Spider-Man 2, you'll be
I'll be
there. But I definitely plan on.
Well, Levi will be here.
Yeah, it's hard to say no to any of these games. Like I said, Alan Wake 2 looks great. I'm with all this Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth stuff, it's like I want to probably play Like a Dragon, The Man Who Erased His Name. Like those games I'll probably play. Yeah. so it's and I've been enjoying playing a lot of digital games right now between Sea of Stars, Cyberpunk, and Baldur's Gate, which I all own digitally. That it's like they might be a topic next week. But I might be switching ships because.
You're calling me a traitor earlier.
We're not selling. I'm not. I don't have that mass of GameStop credit anymore, and it's like I just.
Yeah, you just buy what you want now, and
I get the Sea of Stars rewards or Sea of Stars, PlayStation Stars rewards, and just maybe I'll just ride that. I don't know.
Yeah,
so
it is nice.
So that's all I got. So
cool.
We'll see. Hopefully there'll be more news, more reviews coming out. I have a feeling Spider-Man reviews are going to drop super early.
It'll be at least a week. I mean, I know Ragnarok was a week ahead, and I would bet that. I don't know if you'd go much earlier than that, but I would expect those mid-month.
So, we might talk some reviews, and, it's always going to be an indie game that's going to pop out of nowhere, so.
I hope they don't do a state of play for Spider-Man 2. I really hope they don't.
No, I don't think so. The PlayStation blog has been hot and heavy with all the different things in the game, and they had an old post about the symbiote and how that favors into combat, which we didn't see at all in their gameplay overview from the state of play. So I think we're done. It's going to be reviews, and then the game will be out. Will be our kind of talking points on that. So
can't wait.
All right. And speaking of Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, they released more tracks from that expansion. Sea of Stars, Final Fantasy 16, get it together. Get your tracks out there so we can feature them. Yeah. And so this one is, again, from the composer of Cyberpunk, P.T. Adamczyk, and it is called Force Projection. It is currently the highest, most amount of plays on the current list, and it is a banger. So
the feature track.
Enjoy the song. No, it's not the feature one. They got a vocal one that they have not released. Speaking of bad, they got a one called Phantom Liberty that they have not released yet.
Is it probably all spy-y and James Bond-y? And
it sounds like it's up there with Snake Eater and Deathloop as far as good
so
intros.
Did they say the words Phantom Liberty in the song?
Probably. It's not out. That's why I don't know. They teased it in the Night City Wire, but it has not been out yet. So stay tuned. That might come come out.
I feel like Snake Eater. They say Snake Eater and Snake Eater. They say Deathloop in the Deathloop song. So you got it.
Yeah, you got it.
If you make espionage, you have to.
Yep. All right. So enjoy the song. We will be back next week with another episode of PlayStation Pals. Thanks for listening.
See you guys.
Bye.